Hello students, very good morning. Today our topic is mediator pattern. So mediator pattern is nothing but object behavioral pattern. The word mediator already it's a vocabulary, it defines the vocabulary as a word mediator is nothing but it acts as an any interaction object between some other objects. So generally mediator, the word mediator, if you listen the word mediator, you will definitely remember some important some points like mediator, a man in the middle or something like this. An object in the middle makes a information transmission from one point to the another point. All this comes under the mediator. And if there is any problem rises in the encapsulation of an object when the objects may interact. So when the interaction is going on between two or more objects, in that case, in that design problem, there is a mediator pattern applied and also solve such type of design problem. Next, coming to our intent. So this is the intent, defines an object that encapsulates how a set of objects may interact. How the set of objects may interact. Generally, if you define any object, so generally intent means it encapsulates. Generally intent means it is a short answer or a meaning of the pattern. So what is this meaning of this pattern is nothing but a defining an object that encapsulate how a set of objects may interact with each other. So first, before that, what is meant by encapsulation means? Encapsulation means combining all the objects into a single entity. So that entity, that group of objects, how they interact, that all the group of objects, one object may interact with another. So how the objects may interact. If there is any problem rises in such type of set of objects, when the encapsulation is done after the group of objects, after the set of objects, if there is any problem rises in the framework, when the interaction is going on between these set of objects, then this mediator pattern will be applied to solve such type of problems. Generally, mediator promotes loose coupling by keeping objects from referring to each other explicitly. So, loose coupling will be performed. So, coupling which doesn't perform, so it performs a loose coupling, decoupling or decoupling will be performed, and it gives the best results. Let's to vary their interaction independently. Independent work will be done between number of objects. So, now coming to our next template is motivation. Motivation generally, you all know that motivation defines the problem and also finding the solution to this problem. And here we are taking for every pattern, I am telling the example here also same. Motivation defines the problem, which problem means wherever there is interaction rises between the group of objects or set of objects which is going to be encapsulated, there the interaction will be rises. In such point, this pattern is going to be applied. For example, we are taking here graphical user interface. As an example, consider the implementation of dialog boxes in a graphical user interface. So, any Lexi, any graphical user interface means any document editor, anyone. So, for example, if you take in the document editor, here, here I am taking the font dialog director. So can be the mediator between the widgets in a dialog box. So the best example, so you all know that widgets means group of objects that combined, that encapsulated into the single one. So for example, I already told you in the normal classes, widget means, for example, calculator, a stopwatch or some calendar, all can be grouped in one widget. Next, coming to the Google, mail or some other, all these roles defined in the one widget. So some group of objects may be interacted where the interaction is going on between those objects that are grouped into one single entity, that is known as a widget. Here I am taking the example as a font dialog director can be the mediator. It is a mediator which interacts to all, like button, menu, list or whatever, to text or to background color, whatever it can be defined by the font dialog director, acts as a mediator between the widgets in a dialog box. So next, if you see the diagram, you will definitely understand about this. Third point is nothing but here we are taking the dialog box uses a window to present a collection of widgets. So those widgets are nothing but buttons, menus and entry fields. So etc. All this comes under this motivation. And see the diagram here. This is the font dialog director, acts as a mediator which defines number of clients, number of buttons, number of entry fields, number of list boxes can be defined as a those objects can be interacted with this font dialog director. This is the example. If we take the motivation diagram, so this is the motivation diagram. So here we are taking the font dialog director as a mediator. Here I am defining the example as a font dialog director. So widgets means list box, entry fields, buttons, menu, etc. So this is the motivation diagram, which defines the operations like in the dialog director show dialog, in the widget changing the widget from list box to the entry field or the entry field to the some other widget. And here we are taking the font dialog director as a concrete mediator which defines from the main class as a mediator. So this is the motivation diagram. Next, coming applicability, where this pattern is applied, in what situations this pattern is applied. Generally use the mediator pattern when a set of objects may communicate in well defined but in complex ways. Set of objects may communicate in well defined. So when the mediator pattern is going on in the interaction way, if the objects may communicate in the set of objects may communicate in well defined in some complex ways, this mediator pattern applies when the interaction is going on. So this is one of the point as an applicability. The second one is reusing an object is difficult, but it's efforts to communicate with many other objects. If there is any many number of objects may communicating is going on, there the reusing an object is difficult. So if the object is reusable in some cases, if the reusability makes a difficulty, then this pattern is also going to be applied. Then that difficulty will totally losses. So that is one of the applicability. The last one applicability is nothing but this pattern defines the behavior that's distributed between several classes. If you take the same group of objects or group of classes, several classes, or all these are all same. Whenever the distributed information or the objects or the variables or some elements, whatever the distribution between several classes, this pattern is going to be implemented. Applied. So this is the applicability. So next one. So next template is structure. So this is the structure of mediator pattern. Mediator is a class, concrete mediator, colleague, concrete colleague 1 and concrete colleague 2. For example, mediator defines handles all the requests based on the concrete mediator, and colleagues which mediator interacted with the colleague. So colleague defines some of the uh, work will be distributed between the concrete colleagues 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. So this is the structure of mediator pattern. So next template, not template. So this is the generally object structure for a concrete mediator for the structure. So here I am taking the concrete mediator as one of the main interaction point as a mediator point. All the colleagues may interact with concrete mediator. Whatever the work can be defined and assigned by the concrete mediator. This is the object diagram. Next, coming to the next template. So next template is participants. So here by seeing the structure, there are 4 participants. One is mediator, concrete mediator, colleague, concrete colleague. So these are all the 4 participants. So mediator means by seeing the motivation diagram, mediator defines the dialog director, concrete mediator defines the font dialog director. Here we are taking the example as a font. Dialog director means everything will be communicated. Here I am taking the font dialog director means which extends from the mediator as a concrete mediator. That's why it is a font dialog director. And colleague means widgets. Any application may interact with the director or like whatever the application, whatever the some of the files which is accessed from the main application. All these interacted as like colleagues. And concrete colleagues means which follows by the widget like list box, entry fields, menus, buttons, all this comes under the concrete colleagues. These are the participants which participated as classes and objects in the structure of mediator pattern. So next, coming to the collaboration, colleagues send and receive requests from a mediator object. Colleagues, whatever the classes and objects may interact with a concrete mediator, or a mediator may send and receive the request from the mediator object. That request implements the cooperative behavior by routing requests between the appropriate colleagues. So whatever the appropriate colleagues need to be work to be done, so that work can be defined as the implementation of mediator whenever the routing request is raised. So this is the collaborations template. Next, coming to the next template. So next template is consequences. So for consequences, if we faces these the main results when we applied this mediator pattern. So the first one is, it limitations of subclassing, it decouples colleagues, it abstracts how objects cooperate, it centralizes control. So first one is nothing but subclassing will be limits. So every subclasses to be extended, there is a limit of this extensible classes. So if we apply this mediator pattern, all group of objects may interact with this between of these objects. It doesn't extend of subclasses. That's why this result will be faced when this pattern is applied as a limiting subclassing. So that is one of the consequence, one of the result we are facing. And so whenever the second one is nothing but decouples colleagues. So coupling means combine, decoupling means totally dividing. So colleagues all will be performed as an individual work and divided will be performed, and decoupling will be performed between the colleagues. Each colleague may perform the individual work. So that is the best result when we apply this pattern we will face. So third one is, it abstracts how objects cooperate. Cooperation of objects can be performed between the classes and objects. So cooperation, interaction, so all can be defined by the mediator pattern as abstracts nothing but whatever the information can be hidden, or whatever the information can be unnecessary information can be totally hidden. All this can be how the objects cooperation, all this can be abstracted. So that's why this is also one of the results we are facing. Fourth one is, it centralizes control. So every object, every class should perform the controlling. So this when we apply this mediator pattern, it totally controls the centralizes class or set. So whatever the mediator pattern defines, that totally centralizes control of colleague classes. So this is the consequences also we are facing. And next template is implementation. To implementation technique, omitting the abstract mediator class. So this is one of the implementation technique. By omitting the abstract mediator class, we definitely implement this pattern. Generally, there is no need to define an abstract mediator class when colleagues work with only one mediator. When a colleague works with only one mediator, there is no need to define an abstract mediator class. So that is one of the implementation technique. Generally, the abstract coupling that mediator class provides, then let colleagues work with different subclasses, different mediator subclasses, or vice versa. So all this is one of the main implementation techniques. This implementation technique defines the mediator abstract mediator class. There is no need of this abstract mediator class. So this is one of the implementation technique. Next, second one, colleague and mediator communication. In this communication, there is a two classes. One is colleague and mediator communication should be implemented. So colleagues have to communicate with their mediator when an event of interest occurs. Every event, every action will be performed. When an event of interest may occur, then colleague mediator communication is definitely done to perform this mediator pattern. So this is one of the approach, is to implement the mediator as the observer using the observer. One object observes, like one mediator objects or observes all the colleagues. So this is the main implementation techniques in the mediator pattern. So next, coming to the, so this is the next template sample code. Public class mediator is the main class. So here we are creating the widgets method which concrete mediator extends from mediator. So colleague will be performed as a widget change. So concrete colleague extends. Next template is known uses. So real-time examples. So graphical editor, any graphical editor, any graphical user interfaces is the one of the example for mediator pattern. And the best, another best example, real-time example is hub. Hub means one system defines every group of systems, everything information exchange or interchange, whatever the sending the request, sending the messages or receiving the messages, sending acknowledgement or whatever hub, it acts as a hub. Mediator acts as a hub. So that is one of the real-time example. Next, last template is related patterns. So two related patterns, one is facade and another one is observer. So facade intent means, what is the intent of facade? One, sorry, main class. If there is a main class, it accesses all the subsystem classes. Facade is acts as an user interface to all the subsystem classes. So this is the facade acts as a main class, main abstract class, and also acts as a mediator class, which access the subsystem classes as a colleague. So that's why facade is a one of the related pattern for mediator pattern. And last one is observer. Observer defines one object observes many objects. So here also one object performs the mediator and many objects defines the colleague classes. So such that these two are the related patterns for the mediator pattern. So guys, this is the end of our pattern, mediator pattern. So hope you all understood about this. If there is any queries, feel free to message me. Thank you. Thank you very much.